So the biggest news of the NBA draft was obviously Jimmy Butler going to the Minnesota Timberwolves. While I think this makes the Minnesota Timberwolves a very solid team, a lot of people are jumping to conclusions and saying that it makes the Minnesota Timberwolves contenders and immediate contenders. I'm going to give the reasons why I don't think that's the case, and also the reasons why I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves are even going to come close to winning a ring with this team that they currently have. So the Minnesota Timberwolves, as everyone should know, are in the Western Conference. So they have to go through the two best teams in the NBA, or two of the three best teams in the NBA, depending on what way you want to look at it. The San Antonio Spurs and the Golden State Warriors. Realistically, I don't think the Rockets, with the way they play, are going to compete for an NBA championship next year or soon with the squad they have, but I could be completely wrong. And it's looking like Durant, and you never know, Curry might take pay cuts in order to keep players like Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala. For that reason, next year is an absolute write-off, and probably the year after that. The Minnesota Timberwolves aren't going to come close to winning a ring next year, even though I think they will make the playoffs. I think they'll definitely make the playoffs, just maybe as a 5th seed maybe. But they're not going to win a ring next year. And then the year after that, the Warriors are still probably going to be the best team in the NBA. And probably a year after that, they're still going to be the best team in the NBA. The Warriors' window is the next 5 years. And I think that everyone's talking about the Timberwolves having everything sorted for the future, being the best team in the future. I can't see this big three lasting that long. And I think that by the time the Warriors' reign over the NBA is over, I think this team will be pretty much broken up. So first of all, you gotta look at the contracts of the players they currently have. They've got a ton of players in rookie contracts, and one of them is Shabazz Muhammad. So the Timberwolves are about 20 million under the cap, but that is including Shabazz Muhammad's qualifying offer. But to be honest, if they want to keep him, they're going to offer him what would have been a max contract about a year or two ago, and probably a contract similar to what Jimmy Butler has right now, of about 18, 19, 20 million a year maybe. And if you think I'm crazy saying that, players like Kent Bazemore, Alan Crabb were being offered that type of contract. And since Shabazz Muhammad is a restricted free agent, the Timberwolves will have to match a contract another team offers them. And I can see the Timberwolves doing that, because they really don't want to lose without doubt, their best bench player. So they want to have something off their bench and not just the starting five and nothing else. So even though people are talking about all the cap room that the Timberwolves have, they don't really. That's not including the money that they're going to have to give to Shabazz Muhammad. Even without having to give Nikola Pekovic the money since they released him, they still don't have that much salary cap space after they sign Shabazz Muhammad. So next year, after the Timberwolves not getting anywhere close to the final, they're going to have to pay Andrew Wiggins. And while he's not eligible for the Supermax, even if he does make an All-NBA team, they're still going to have to pay him about 25 million a year, which is a lot considering that the salary cap is not being bumped up as much as a lot of people expected it to be bumped up. And then the year after that, Karl Anthony Towns is going to need to be paid. And realistically, Karl Anthony Towns will make the All-NBA and All-NBA team next year, and the All-Star team, and the same the year after that, meaning he's eligible for the Derrick Rose rule, which means he can be offered 30% of the team's total salary cap, which means realistically he's going to end up being paid even more than Andrew Wiggins. And the year after that, they have to pay Jimmy Butler. And by the time they're paying all these guys their max contracts, they're not making any NBA finals, because they have to go through the Warriors, who are the greatest team ever assembled and will probably be getting better for the next 2 or 3 years. So fast forward to 2019-2020 season. The Warriors might start to decline a little bit, but you've got a max contract Jimmy Butler, possibly Supermax. You've got a max contract Wiggins, and you've got a max contract Karl Anthony Towns in your team. What else do you have around them? You still probably have Shabazz Muhammad under contract. You've traded Ricky Rubio for someone, but to get a half decent point guard, you need to pay him 20 million. And to build a team to compete with the Warriors, you're going to have to be so far in the luxury tax that your salary is greater than any team's salary of all time. Because the Warriors, a lot of them take pay cuts, they're unselfish, and they want to win a ring. So to get a team even close to them, you're going to need to pay way over the salary cap, which the Minnesota Timberwolves won't do. They won't. Like, they're not going to go into the luxury tax a couple of years in a row. They're going to do very similar to what the 2012 Oklahoma City Thunder did. The Timberwolves aren't a big market franchise, neither were the Thunder. They couldn't afford to go into the luxury tax, and neither can the Minnesota Timberwolves. If the Timberwolves go into luxury tax and don't win, they're screwed. they're not generating enough income in the team that they can afford to do that the owner can afford to go into luxury tax. And for that reason, I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves are ever going to be able to put the pieces around their big three, or maybe big four if you count Ricky Rubio. But I like Rubio, but I wouldn't put him in a big four. But I don't think they're ever going to be able to get the pieces around their big three in order to compete with the Golden State Warriors. And by the time the Warriors kind of reign over the NBA is done, I think that the Timberwolves will have broken up this big three. I think that it's just too much money for a franchise that small, and I don't think that realistically they're going to be able to keep it up. The only reason the Warriors window is more than maybe 1 or 2 years is because before the salary cap bumped up majorly, they had Draymond Green and Klay Thompson under contract. They have two of the best value contracts in the league in two of their stars, and if that wasn't the case, this team may have never happened or maybe broken up by now. And even though Jimmy Butler has a great contract through 2019 and 2020, realistically the Timberwolves are not going to win before then. And no matter how good Butler gets with age and no matter how well he ages, they're not going to beat the Warriors. And by the time the Warriors decline, even though Wiggins, Towns will be at the peak of their game, there's going to be more super teams. And the big market teams are going to be better. And in this super team era, there's a very good chance that within 5 years' time, I'm going to make a video on this, that within 5 years' time, there are going to be franchises like the Lakers and Celtics dynasty again. It's going to mean that the big market teams are going to win everything. And I mean everything, like every single year. The big market teams are going to keep winning. I'm going to make a video on why I think that, but with the way teams are going, the super team culture, even though the Warriors do have the super team right now, as soon as a big market team and a couple of big market teams get super teams, they're going to keep them because they have the money to keep funding these super teams. And I think that is going to completely ruin the balance of power in the NBA and also ruin the competitiveness league-wide. So anyway, that's the video. That's just the reasons why I don't think the Minnesota Timberwolves are ever going to win or be close to winning an NBA championship. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.